You're Locked On Wild. Your daily podcast on the Minnesota Wild. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hey, this is Brandon Duham, and this is Locked On Wild.
Good morning, and welcome into day 2 of Locked On Wild presents the Sweden streams. Getting things rolling here as the Wild will be taking on the Maple Leafs today. And I think we got to start by talking about these line combinations because we got some interesting things going on with these lines. Freddie Gaudreau is back. Ryan Hartman, I think, is going to play. It sounds like he's going to play. But look at what we have for lines for today's game. Kaprizov, Rossi, Zuccarello, which again, not surprised there. Although maybe you could look at what Boldy did yesterday as a step in the right direction to where he could get elevated. But you've got that trio: Johansson, Gaudreau, and Boldy, Foligno, Eriksson, Ek, and Hartman, Maroon, Dewar, and Duhaime as your forward groupings. I guess we'll see. Those are combinations that I'm having a hard time visualizing it in my head. And of course, Freddie comes back and just gets elevated directly onto the second line, which is something. Will is here with us. Good morning. Calling a Brock Faber goal today. That'd be nice. This team will take whatever they can get here at this point. Mike also with us. I have tea, and ironically, right as I was about to hop in, spilled on my laptop. So thankfully, no damage done, but that was like 2 minutes before I was going to hop in, and then had to go into crisis management mode to get everything cleaned up. I'm running into the same issue that I had yesterday with Bally's just, not working. So let's just see if we can get this so that I can actually watch the game here this morning. That would be nice. All right, let's try this again. Oh, there. Now it works. Jason is with us. Good morning. Of course, I thought this was something that I wanted to try for a good majority of the beginning of the season, and I think this is something that we'll do throughout the rest of the year as well. We do it for the fans. We do it for listeners. We do it for you. It's early, but hey, we're gonna have a good time today. Again. All right, so predictions. Hit me in the comments with your predictions for today's game. I am thinking a loss again, unfortunately. But that's just how she goes. MW Auto here. Good morning. Is it okay to feel less confident about a Wild win today? Yes, because that's exactly where I'm at. I don't see it against a Toronto team that just has so many different ways they can attack you. So many good upper echelon teams that the Wild have to contend with, or upper echelon players, I should say. So yeah, I'm thinking maybe like 4-2 Toronto. And honestly, I would be ecstatic with a point in this game. If the Wild would be able to get this to overtime against Toronto, I'd be ecstatic with the point, because I think realistically, we expected that they were going to win one of these games. So you're probably looking at 2 points anyway. Um, but now you have to at least get it to overtime uh, to get one of those points. So we'll see. I'm with Niles though. Let's just let this be the end of this. Is like having one NFL game in London. Like this is throwing everything off, sleep schedule, all that. So let's just have these 2 games and have that be the end of it for these types of adventures. Buzz joining us from Ottawa. Good morning. Hopefully we see a good performance from the squad, but I would just like to see something other than a commercial break. Oh, here we go. Thoughts on Merrill being back in the lineup? I really don't get it. Like, I know there was nothing that really screamed of a breakdown yesterday defensively, but I would think that you get more from Murmis, more from Hunt, more from any number of players other than just having the vet in the lineup and Johnny Merrill. I I don't get it. I think you could make a case that, when Damon Hunt and Dakota Murmis were playing and Merrill was scratched, why all of a sudden do you decide to go back to something that clearly wasn't working? Niles, I hope they look competitive. I'd rather not have to drink this early. Yeah, I think we're all in a similar boat. To just hoping to not have to break out the hard liquor this early. All right, so I'm thinking 4-2. Is there anybody watching currently that is optimistic about a win? We love the optimism when it's there, but I don't think anybody's really confident in that happening here today. And again, looks like today we're going to get about a 7:15 puck drop as opposed to the actual 7:00 start time. But hey, it's whatever. I'm going to get myself oriented here so that I can not elbow my tee for one, and can see the game a little bit. So it will be Marc-Andre Fleury starting. Apparently there was serious thoughts about starting Gustafsson again today. That was like a serious conversation that was had by the coaching staff, and they came close, but decided that it was going to be Fleury's turn to get this one. Only reason I'm optimistic is if we lose, Dean's gone, and that's just too good to happen. Well, that would be a reason for the Wild to go out and get at least a point today. Will is optimistic about at least a point. Honestly, I would take overtime, but I think with where this team is at, I think even if the Wild get a lead today, they will do the thing where if Toronto scores, then they just go from playing to win to playing not to lose, which is a big problem. You can't have that. All right, they're doing the ceremonial puck drop. Oh, the anthems. Why wouldn't you do this at 7? I don't know. I'm just being nitpicky this early. It's a good question. It appears as though they are doing the two for sure. I'm not sure if they did the old Swedish national anthem. I think, Mike, there was a good amount of steam or good amount of people that were hoping that we would see Volstead for a game, but we'll get there. We'll get there. And yes, I think we need to get the steam going that Volstead's nickname is the Wall. I think that needs to become a thing. Let's get that. Let's get that on a t-shirt or something. Some sort of gear. Feels like a soda stick shirt. Just too easy to make happen. So let's get it done. Looks like starters will be Boldy, Goudreau, and I think it was Johansson on his line. Yeah, Johansson, Goudreau, and Boldy will be your starters. Faber and Brodin as well. So let's will Matt Boldy a goal. Let's get him going here finally, please. MW Auto brings up a good point. Vinny Lettieri came out of the lineup with Freddie back in. So Pat Maroon back down to the fourth line. And you've got a little bit of a different look in pretty much every line that's out there. The second and third lines, the most notable differences, Johansson, Goudreau, Boldy, Foligno, Eriksson, and Hartman. So Hartman not playing center today. Hartman playing wing, which is an interesting look for this team. Will was up for high school hockey today. Those, as somebody who never played but certainly is very familiar, I would not be able to do all those early practices. So I commend you for being able to be up and functioning at this point. I am very much a night owl. Went to bed last night a little on the early side for me, just before midnight to be able to get up and be ready to rock here today. But very much a night owl, and so I'm usually not functioning before like 9 on weekends. Obviously, for work during the week, got to be up a little earlier. But usually it's 9 for me to get things going. Over under on Kirill shots today. Wow, you got to set it at 1.5, I think, after yesterday's effort. And I hope that it's over that. If he gets like shut out today and doesn't get a single shot on net, then we've got major problems. So we'll see what happens. Functional is an overstatement. Fair point. Just like powered on is probably the best way to put it. Fred, got to have a Freddie. Yeah, Dean's guy. Got to get him into that top 6 role the moment he is back to being ready to be in the lineup. No other way to do it. Your goalie matchup, Marc-Andre Fleury against Joseph Wall. And again, another beatable goalie. Gotta make something happen. NASCAR Kelly is here. Good morning. We are ready to rock. We are ready to roll here, and get things going. Fred with the biggest key. Start strong. Start it off strong. Maybe a goal within the first 60 seconds again. All right, here we go. Face-off won by the Maple Leafs. Good push. Boldy winning a puck battle. Shot from the far side. I'm real interested to see how Freddie looks today, because obviously that hit that he took from Reeves the last time these two teams played, he just was not even close to what he previously did. Now we're seeing the Eriksson-Ek line. Early shot attempt from Toronto, but that will that'll sail the net. So we get our first stoppage just over a minute in. I think Alex will be joining us in a little bit. He knew about it today, obviously, but it's early. It's early on a Sunday. We'll get him in here though. Turnover behind the net. Oh, nearly a breakaway opportunity, but Toronto just able to get to the puck before Foligno. Boy, again. Couple of different instances in which Toronto has tried to get the puck out to the top of their offensive zone, and it just sails all the way through. Nobody home at the top. Maybe that's because is Klinger playing? Is Klinger or Reeves playing in this one? Got to get on that. Oh, come on, phone. Toronto into the zone with steam. Good play, though, by Zuccarello to prevent a rush by Toronto. Shot attempt right in front. And I think that deflected out by Nylander. Yeah, I would feel like putting today at a must win. Just because I think this, oh my God. You cannot be serious. Guess who? Guess who got it done? I'm going to see it here in a second. Minnesota Wild lead on all right, let's see this. Nope, it must not be happening yet. Rossi to the top. John Merrill with your first goal of the game. Just playing to spite me here in this one. And the Minnesota Wild take a 1-0 lead on a goal from Johnny Vibes. Of course, it was going to happen in this game today. Yeah, I'm looking at the lineup for the Maple Leafs. Reeves and Klingberg not in. So this is the most apt description of it. Even a blind squirrel finds a nut. Wow. I told you he's doing it just to spite me, because I have been so aggressively anti-Merrill for the last couple of weeks. He's seen the tweets. He probably watches the show and is like, I'm gonna show Locked On Wild that that I'm a little bit better than they say. Like me, Alex was tweeting about the F1 race that ended at 2 a.m. this morning. Oh, yikes! How are you up, Kelly? That's cutting it too close. Like 2 a.m. was Friday night into Saturday for me, but with this one going early, that was a little too cutting it too close. Kirill outscoring Merrill lately. Yeah, when is the last Kaprizov goal? When has it happened? Zach joining us from the airport. Zach, just let us know when the flight leaves. We'll probably still be here when you land because it's not like it's a lengthy flight to Florida. Couple hours, so we'll probably still be here when you land in sunny Florida. Well, I've been up since the game yesterday. Really tired. We got a little bit of a scrum. Is that that's Dewey 1 that kind of got it going? Yes. Because McCabe is just all over him. Duhame's got that he's got that bloodthirsty look in his eyes. Zach is about to depart. Safe travels, my friend. Safe travels. Early flight. Early flight's the only way to do it. Unless you're going to get like a red-eye late night flight. Early is the way to go. Early is the way to do it. Get to your destination. You have the entire day to just hang out and do whatever. You don't lose a ton unless you don't go to bed at a reasonable time, which is what I typically do. Skol later. Peace. Got to get up pretty early to score goals. Yeah, this team, until they can get their confidence back on, it's imperative that this team score early and take leads. They just don't seem to be geared to playing from behind at this current point of the season. All right, we got 15:50 to play here in the first period. Toronto trying to push it into the zone. Wild being pesky in the neutral zone. Ooh, a little give and go. Shot towards net, and Wall makes the save. Nice attempt there to try to just tip one past Wall. Is it Wall? Is it Wall? I'm going with Wall. Toronto, fun fact, 4.5 minutes into the game, does not have a shot on net. So good attack. Good attack by the offense so far in this one. And you just have to hold this Toronto offense down as long as you can. All right, Toronto pushing. They're waving it off. Must have hit the post. So there's your first shot attempt. Yeah, let's see where this hit. Ooh, yeah. Then just a ton of traffic in the net. Tavares with the shot. Doink. Yeah, Will is right on. Until we blow out a strong opponent, it's hard to gain that confidence by winning games, 3-2, 2-1. I mean, this team will take just any win it can get at this point, but yeah, you got to start to really exert some level of strong play to really get this thing back on track. Boldy does look really good, Mike, over these last couple of games. And so hopefully that's a sign that that he is getting close to where this team needs him to be. Because he is a key component to what this team is doing. Kaprizov with the shot on net, that's one. Oh, but what's the call here? Zuccarello is not pleased about something. And that probably would be it. Ladies and gentlemen, Denny's here. Denny, how was the Toronto stream? They are, I'm assuming, doing one. Dean's pissed. All right, so wild penalty early in the game. Chance for the PK to build off of yesterday's strong play. Spurgeon intercepts the puck and just lets it rip. Eriksson providing some good pursuit to start, and Toronto, 20 seconds in, will try to gain the offensive zone for the first time. Far side attack. Loose puck just in front of the net. Fleury pokes it to the side. Back out to the top for the Maple Leafs. Face-off circle. Shot deflected. Eriksson can't clear. Maple Leafs on the near side face-off circle. Back out to the top. Across right side or left side. Shot. That sailed, I think, over the net. Another shot. Wild able to get to the puck, but not clear. This Maple Leafs power play is dangerous. I think that's Nylander back out. Shot blocked. Eriksson able to clear. That is something I think we have seen a little bit more of here with this penalty kill, is players are actually blocking shots. And shorthanded attempt by Duhaime, maybe? No, they poked the puck away. Duhaime and Dewar just wrecking again on the penalty kill. 15 seconds left. See if Toronto gets one more push. No, not really. Tried for the backhand sauce. And we're back to full strength. Ladies and gentlemen, 5 for their last 5 in penalty kills. I'd like to know how fast the average, on average, the Wild take the first penalty of the game. Seems like the first 5 minutes were in the damn box. Yeah, it's, I think now that makes, well, it wouldn't, I think the Wild have 7 penalties in the opening minute of games this year, which is, it seems like a preposterous amount. And so that certainly doesn't help matters when you're trying to get off to good starts and you're playing a man down for early stretches of the game. So Zuccarello across far side to Merrill. Merrill with a shot, sails behind the net. Kaprizov loses the handle, but gets it back. Working in the corner, tips it back behind, trying to get it to Zuccarello. Maple Leafs come up with control on the near side. We can certainly talk penalties, Will, for a future episode of Locked On. Maybe this week, with the fact that the Wild don't play again until Friday. Wouldn't be a bad idea to take a look at the art of the penalty. Just off the post. I think in that previous power play, Matthews just missing. Fleury is a damn cat, Amanda. Just pouncing all over the place. Just having a time out there. All right, so still scoreless. 11 minutes left. Now again, I'm a little bit behind here. Fred, I am watching on our beloved Bally's because turns out YouTube TV doesn't have NHL Network. So I'm watching on the app, which very hit or miss. I'm not going to miss the app when Bally's goes away. It lags, it doesn't work, or sometimes you'll just get an error message that says, "We're sorry, we cannot bring you this game due to technical difficulties." Like, get it figured out. Middleton to Eriksson Ek. Just couldn't quite come up with the chip in. The Wild have had a sizable advantage in offensive zone time so far in this game. This team is buzzing, which you love to see. They need it after how the last handful of games have gone. See what else is going on in the sports world here today. I watched more than I would like to admit of the Gopher game. Way too much. Keeping Dewar and Duhaime on top makes a big difference. Speed breaks up the passing lanes. Yes, those guys being more of a factor in the penalty kill, I think helps. Duhaime and Dewar may not be as talented as some of the guys that play bigger roles on this team, but you know what is never going to happen? They're never going to get outworked. Those guys bust it every time they're on the ice. And if you can continue to get them opportunities, they don't let you down because they work hard. And that is, I think, something that sometimes we don't get a ton of on this team. So yeah, continuing to get those guys opportunities to help out, hugely in favor of. Kaprizov does look like he looks better here early on. Now it is early, but already has a shot on goal, which kind of preposterous that I'm even having to celebrate that because should have a ton every game. And yet we had what happened. And I don't know. It could have been yeah. I was gonna say it could have been the fact that his parents were here, that he maybe just had some nerves. I don't know. Who's to say? Ron is very right. Toronto is in Ottawa. Should try to keep this 5-on-5 as much as possible. Very, very much, very correct. Matt's here. Good morning. Grab a coffee. Something for breakfast. I was gonna have eggs, but just didn't. I'll have that after. Fleury has been busy, even though the Wild have more shot attempts. Fleury has been busy so far, and he is coming up huge, as many of you are noting. Huge stops coming up big. Flower power is in force early on. Here's a McCabe shot. Oh, that was deflected. Good job. Good reaction by Fleury to close those pads on that shot that Boldy blocked that still had enough to kind of get through. Toronto so far, they've hit some posts. So had their post cereal for breakfast this morning. And now they control in the offensive zone on the near side. Wrapped back around the boards. Hartman able to force a turnover. But Toronto gets it right back. Yeah, 80 games. You look at it, 82 game schedule. And if you try to kind of extrapolate it to the NFL season, I suppose it would be similar to the Wild are 1-2, 1-3 at this point. Through the through a quarter. I don't know. I'm not good at math. Nobody can be 100% for 80 games. So it just the thing that we're looking for is moving in the right direction. Some positives. Denny's right on. Best Fleury has played in the last couple of seasons. He really has bought it. I think he is hungry for that. He's hungry for that win mark. Wants to get into second place all time. Slot shot by the Maple Leafs is blocked. Dewar with it. Tried to go ahead to Duhaime. Picked up by the Maple Leafs. And why, if we are... Fleury with the... Fleury pounces on it. Why are we trying to match up with Nylander, Bertuzzi? Why are we trying to match up with those guys with the fourth line? If we're the home team, Wild are the home team in this matchup, so they theoretically get last change. I don't know. Even last year, the Wild have been a streaky team, winning and losing in bunches. Yeah, it's just so far in these first 16 games, there just have been way more losses than wins. If they can set yesterday's game as kind of the floor, and defense looked good, goaltending was good. If they can use that as kind of their floor performance the rest of the way, then they'll win more often than they lose. It's just about consistently getting to that point and trying to eliminate the spin the wheel to figure out what is going to be the thing that lets this team down in that game. So if they can avoid some of that, they'll be fine. Amanda, yes, we are going to be doing some coverage. Some of my Locked On colleagues very in on women's hockey, and we'll be having them on to discuss the once that gets going. They're kind of feeling it out at this point, but we will have some coverage for sure at Locked On. Yeah, we'll get some maybe weekly or every other week. We'll get some episodes rolling about that as the season goes on. Maybe we'll have some players, some front office executives on. Stay tuned. Russo noting that Merrill goal was his first in 49 games for the Minnesota Wild since January 10th of last season. The PWHL, as Mike notes. Yeah, we'll we'll give them some love here for sure. Did they decide? I know it's kind of they're in a bit of a weird spot where they haven't done really any jerseys or anything or mascots or anything along those lines. They're kind of hitting the ground running in that aspect. Yeah, we'll get the full rundown. Yep, the Wild's back on the penalty kill as Spurgeon heads to the box. That's a tough one because Spurgeon is a huge piece of that penalty kill puzzle. So we will we'll see if the Wilds can kill this one off. No, they cannot. Austin Matthews. Never heard of him. No, I have heard of him. He's pretty good. And I don't know. I just saw the replay of the penalty and yeah. That's a great Dean face. That's a great Dean face. Just full out frustrated. Took 5 seconds. 5 seconds on the old power penalty kill. So that snaps a string of 5 straight kills. And okay. Just starting for me. So let's see what happens. Well, first off, they're going to redo the face-off. It's Freddie in. Toronto wins. Back out to the top. Matthews from the face-off circle. Rebounds. Rebound out to a waiting skater. And power play goal. That's why winning draws on the penalty kill is so important. And it's something that this team just does not consistently do. Matthews was just waiting right out in front. Weaved his way between 3 different Wild players. Yeah, that's tough. That's a tough one. Just an instinctual reaction play by Matthews, too, right in front of the net. All right, so now what we need to do is not let this snowball and don't let this turn into a 2-1 deficit. And they nearly just did. Michael joining us this morning. Is this the Dino Swan song this morning? I don't know. Again, I think that call has to come from probably Leopold. Because I don't think Bill Guerin's going to do it if given the opportunity. I don't think Guerin makes that choice himself. And from previous instances in which particular things have happened, Mike Yeo getting fired, usually it's Leopold who goes to, in that case, Chuck Fletcher and says, you know what you got to do, right? You're going to do it, right? So I don't know. Could we see it? Yes. But I think what we're going to see is the team, depending on how the rest of this game goes, if they get walked in this game, then it very likely could happen. But if it's a close game, I think what you're going to see is we're trending in the right direction. So I don't think at that point I don't know. I guess I'm perfectly fine with being proven wrong. I think Billy G would do it as long as he can bring in his buddy Doug Waits. There have been some whispers about that. So maybe Doug Waite is the answer there. I know he coached a while back. I need to do some research and some intel on the Doug Waite experience myself. I'm not hugely familiar with I know he played and he's coached. Here's the point to yeah, Fred brings up a good point is, we haven't seen the top level guys pull their weights, and so I think that's why we have seen hesitancy to do it from Guerin and Leopold, because I think they believe that a lot of the issues that are plaguing this team are the fact that the top level guys just are not getting it done. So I will we'll see. We'll see what happens. Now, what would be considered close? I'd say if you get this game to overtime, if you can take Toronto to overtime, then the fact that you came up short against Ottawa, and if you lose against Toronto, I would consider that close. Now, if you lose like 4-3 in regulation, it depends on if there are any, heinous breakdowns, but I get the sense that Bill Guerin's not going to think about a move until, I don't know, call me crazy, the end of the year. If this continues to happen, there would have to be something done, you'd think, by the end of the season. But time will tell. Toronto with just all the momentum right now. They now lead in shots. The Wild haven't had a shot on net in probably like, I don't know, 6 minutes. It seems like they've been on 10 forever. And this is just that same thing that happens every time the opponent scores a goal. It just is an absolute killer. Everybody starts playing tight. Toronto just continuing to push into the offensive zone. Yeah, it was 10-3, 10-4, and now all of a sudden it's 12-10 Toronto. It is a good point by Fred here too, is that it seems like there have been so many shots by this team that are not even remotely accurate. I think it's over 30% of the shots that the Wild have taken so far this year that just don't even hit the net. That's astronomically high, especially for a team that is a little short in the skill department. You got to be more accurate than that. if you're trying to hit the net. But again, it's like 30% of the shots that just don't make it to where they're supposed to go. They're very much missing the fun of the game. Nothing that this team does right now seems to be fun. And yeah, winning is the thing that that gets this all back on track. Winning is fun. Players enjoy to win. Players have fun winning. And so if they can do some of that, just win games, that'll take the pressure off. Then the team's not gripping the sticks so tightly. Just gotta get this thing going. It just has not been. It's been kind of a joyless trudge through the mud so far this year. I had a coach that said 1 in 15 shots was a goal. Wilder beyond due. Yes. Very due for a lot of different things. Okay, here comes Kaprizov. Little trouble with the puck, but he just goes right back to Zuccarello. I have a net in my backyard. I could teach them for free. Team session to the backyard nets. We all know Fleury is having a blast. Fleury has fun every time he's out there. Just diving around, sprawling out for saves. All right, so the Wild did actually get, so they have one shot in the last probably 8 minutes of real game time, which is that's not enough. It's not anywhere close to enough. Oh, good. Toronto did make it 2-1. Let's see the goal here. Wheels, it does appear, are starting to come off. How far behind am I? Played in behind the net. Toronto, little give and go action. Pass to the far side. Shot on the near side. Matty Nyes. How many losses until Walker or Beckman come up or someone else? So I looked at this, Brian, for an episode earlier this week, and those two in particular not having the greatest of starts, but I mean, I think they've also been hurt. I think there are just a ton of injuries down in Iowa right now. And so Iowa's just trying to kind of hold serve until those players are back and contributing. But like Walker so far, no goals. Beckman has 4, but 2 of those came in the early part of the season, and then he went a long stretch of no goals until the last like 3 games, when he scored a couple of goals. So those guys getting called up, yeah, Denny on top of it. 6 players for Iowa are hurt right now, so I think they are just trying to hang on to as many bodies as they can at this point until everybody gets back. It's a mess. But again, like we know what we see here with Minnesota. It's a team that doesn't have a ton of skill. Yeah, Lord Obsidian. I can't remember more than 1 or 2 goals this year by the Wild that actually showed any skill. Most goals scored by this team are just boring right now. The fun has been sucked out of the pretty much everything that this team does. It's just it seems like work. Anything that seems like work is not fun. And so the Wild will head into the first intermission trailing 2-1. And same stories we've seen over the last handful of games, the 4 losses and any of the other losses that have kept this team from taking off over the last several games. It doesn't look fun, and they press. They're tense. They're tight. Playing not to make mistakes. Yeah, this is so. Let's talk a little bit about the Dean Evison situation, because it seems like when Dean has done actual like coaching things, that there is a when there's actually attempts to drop people in the lineup or move things around, that it seems like the team responds. But it's so much just bad play, like uncharacteristic turnovers, just really, really careless with the puck. Players just standing around while stuff is going on. And all those detail things are things that a coach should clean up. Details. That is all on coaches to harp on. And if you're not getting what you need, to make changes. And it just doesn't seem like this team is getting that. I mean, some of these turnovers are just hilariously bad, especially in the offensive zone or right in front of the net. And so again, that's why we keep pointing to the coaching being an issue, because these are the types of things that a coach should be able to clean up and just demand more. Getting out of this, the Wild are not just going to get out of this. Like, it can't just be expected that they're going to be able to pull out of this funk. It has to be demanded that they are going to. And that also is a coaching thing. First thing NHL Network says, Kevin Weeks, it probably was Weeksy that mentioned it. The Wild started good, took their foot off the gas. Yeah, we've seen this movie before. And I know the cap hits, they're a huge part of it. You have the budget for 75% of a hockey team. You play like 75% of a hockey team. It's a hard deal to overcome. You can't, like, any franchise taking $14 million and lighting it on fire is not, it's not a strong recipe for success. But this is what they have available to them. And so this is something that needs to be fixed. Like, you just have to demand more from the players that are here. Playing not to make mistakes, that is the issue that has come from coaching and not able to be adjusted by the captains. Yeah. You just, and this is, we've seen this where young players are punished differently than veterans for making similar types of mistakes. There seems to be a little bit of a double standard. I think I know why Cap is struggling. We've been struggling, and it's on the captains to reel a team back as Dean won't go into the locker room. Yeah, I think there is a little bit of it too with Kaprizov just, struggling to handle that additional responsibility. I don't know if it's that. I don't know if it's that same injury from the Winnipeg game. I'm starting to think that it's maybe a mental hurdle that he could very well be 100%, but his brain doesn't trust his body to be able to do all the same things that he couldn't do when he was injured. That is a thing that happens when players get injured. Is not only do you have to physically heal up, but you have to get over those hurdles mentally that, hey, I just can't do these same things that I was able to do. And so that could be part of it. I'm trying to just at least get all the possibilities out there into the open as to what this could all be, because the further this goes, it's clearly more than just, a slow start. There's clearly something else going on. Brian, on the Doug Waits angle, I need to do a little more intel and research as to what he brings to the table. I know he previously coached, I believe it was the Islanders. And I know he played as well. Beyond that, I don't have a ton in the Doug Waits department, but that's another thing that I think is worthy of an episode, is just to do a little research, and that will be one that I circle back to for sure. Bright spot for the early part of this game, Rossi with an apple on the Merrill goal, continuing to rack up points. Yeah, Rossi just continues to get it done. Dean was not hesitant to heap the praise on for Rossi for what he's done in the early part of the season, going to the point as to say that he's been one of their best players so far this year, and he's very accurate there. And so the fact that, if we look at this season from a win-loss perspective as so far being a failure, there are positives in that Rossi continues to look the part, and he continues to get top 6 opportunities, playing to the point that the coaching staff has no choice but to give him some of those top line responsibilities. It's something that he just continues to, it seems like every game he just continues to stack up quality performances, and really I think has to be the brightest spot so far on this team, other than our guy Brock Faber. Yeah, Fred right on it here. Brock Faber's been a positive so far for this team. So while the on ice production has not been where we would want it, there have been some positives that you can take from what we've seen so far. And that is that a couple of these young guys are getting opportunities and are showing that they're capable of handling them. I mean, who had Brock Faber leading this team in ice time at the beginning of the season? I certainly didn't, but here he is. He's one of the top minutes per game players on this team. And it does also help that he's able to hit the net, which is a little bit of a problem for some of those top level guys at this point. And yes, he is he's doing all of the things that Kaprizov does, the spinoramas. It's a lot of fun to watch him just ooze confidence. It's something that this team should try to pull from early on. Wouldn't mind at some point if Rossi just starts yelling at people in a way or carries the team on his back with Faber pushing from behind too. That's what you want from your young players. Is you don't necessarily want to put that pressure on them. But the fact that he can continue to just get it done, that's what we're all looking at. Okay, official Lockdown Wild poll, jersey choice, Rossi or Faber. It looks like we've got a couple of votes for Faber. Plus number 7 is not that 23 isn't, but the number 7 is pretty sweet. Gotta say, lucky number 7. Ron brings up a good point too. The no movement angles on these contracts is interesting too. I think we looked at the top 9, and of the top 9 players that don't have no movement clauses or no trade clauses in their contracts are Boldy, Eriksson Ek, Kaprizov gets his next year. And so of your top 9 players, 2 of them are movable without asking permission. That's not a great ratio. Now, it doesn't mean that you can't trade players, but it gets a little trickier when not only do you have the AAV that you have to clear, but then also the movement protection makes things tricky. But I don't think there's any way, if this season continues to just go off the rails, I don't think there's any way that they can justify coming back with this same mix next season. I don't think you can just package it all up and say we're just going to go do it again. Like you gotta make some sort of change to this group with limited funds, but you do need to do something. More incentives in contracts other than a no movement clause. There are other ways to ensure that players get a little bit of security on their end, but the most common is those movement clauses. No trade, no move. We'll see how it all plays out, but yeah, it's been an eventful start to the Minnesota Wild season, to say the least. But yeah. Mike's just going to get both. It's just going to get both jerseys. I mean, number 12 is pretty cool too. So there are a lot of different opportunities for numbers to snag. So I could imagine a coaching change, even if I don't like it. No flexibility anywhere else on the roster, and that's how this typically works. Is when you have a team that is underperforming. Yeah, what was I saying? Underperforming teams, it's easier than trading a bunch of players, moving a bunch of pieces around. It's way easier to just make a change at coach. Now, if this continues and you aren't inclined to, say, get rid of Dean, I think a guy who certainly could be on the hot seat is Bob Woods. Like, yeah, Amanda just read my mind. Assistant coaches, why would they not look at the assistant coaches first, or is it really the leadership and the head coach? I think if you're going to make a move, you'd probably look at Bob Woods first, because that penalty kill is now, I think, 38 for 58, which is atrociously bad. So maybe that would be a sign that, hey, we gotta pick this up. Gotta pick up this mess. So don't be surprised there. Don't be surprised if maybe at some point Leopold says, well, we have to do something. That then they say, yeah, let's shuffle the assistants around a little bit. But would Bob Woods and Dean be too big of a move? I would think so we saw Brett McClain take the Iowa job, although I think that was kind of a, you can have this or you'll be elsewhere. You can have this Iowa gig if you want it, but you're not going to be on this coaching staff again. And yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens, because you can only say it'll get better so many times. And if it doesn't show any signs of improving, then we got some problems. Yeah, Fred, I am going to see. This is the nice thing about the fact that the Vikings play Sunday Night Football tonight. I highly doubt I will be awake during that noon game. I'm going to definitely get some shut eye here during the day today. Yeah, Mike's right on. They did that in Edmonton. Although I find it so funny that they got rid of Woodcroft after a win. Like, why do you not just get rid of him after that Sharks game if it's such an embarrassment to your franchise, losing to the San Jose Sharks? Why not just fire him after the game? They waited, then they beat the Seattle Kraken, and they looked pretty good doing it. And then they're like, no, you got to go. Hey, Will, no worries. We got you covered, and we'll have a postcast for you today as well. We just got the coverage on lock here at Locked on Wild. We're keeping you in the loop as to what all is going on here this weekend. All right, second period is about to get underway. Amanda, I think coaches are not factored in to the salary cap, but the reason that gets brought up as much as it does is because owners are not super enthused about the prospect of paying a coach that is not coaching and then somebody else who is. So the fact that there are still a couple of years left on Dean's deal, I think, is why there has been so much mention of that, is because Leopold doesn't want to pay somebody else, Doug Waite, to be coach while Dean is getting paid to not coach. It's all a money thing. All right, back underway for the second. Well, based off of our nice little score bug. Yeah, if people were not here yesterday, I was telling a couple people that were planning on joining the stream today that there would be a score bug for today's game. And yeah, I just created one essentially through the power of the internet to be able to help out with today's game. I am irrationally excited for the Vikings game tonight, which as a Minnesota fan feels weird to say, but the Josh Dobbs experience has been nothing short of brilliant through the last couple of weeks. It can't get any more difficult of a start than having to come in relief for an injury and leading the team to a win against Atlanta, and then just beating the brakes off the New Orleans Saints in the first half in the second game. What are you going to do for an encore against the Denver Broncos? We'll find out tonight. See Jay Lip with us. Welcome in. What was the point of extending Dean? He doesn't recruit. The Dean Evison extension was a reward for the regular season 2 years ago, which I have said was the exception to the rule. He was rewarded for that. The whole coaching staff was rewarded for a season in which, honestly, your offense really covered up a lot of these same mistakes that have continued to happen over the last few seasons. At some point, that bill becomes due, and so we'll see if that is after this season or during this season. But at some point, if this stuff continues, there is a price to pay for it. I forgot the Wolves were on last night. But the fact that they were able to win a game in which they were down like 15 early, that's a good Wolves team. That's a very good Wolves team that this team just needs somebody to step up and just take control of the sports landscape. And so props to the Timberwolves through the first like 12 games for them. Props to them for doing that. I'm excited but scared for the Vikings. Me too, Lord Obsidian. Because again, that bill always comes due. Always comes due. And so it could be fun now, but that other shoe is just waiting to drop. We got a call here for the second period. Matt Boldy scores a goal. He needs one. He's looked pretty good, but he just hasn't quite gotten that goal yet. So I like that. Let's channel some good positive energy into Matt Boldy getting a goal. Gun-toting Granny's with us. Good morning. 2-1, Toronto on top. Wild had the 1-0 lead, but 2 straight goals for Toronto by Austin Matthews and Matty Nyes have given them the lead. Wild trying to get set up in the offensive zone, but they turn it over and now are back in the D zone trying to push ahead. Here's Dewar. Tried to leave it for Kaprizov, and the pass ends up getting poked away by a Toronto stick. Yeah, it's funny because with John Merrill actually scoring, like, you're not expecting that, but yeah, we I don't know. That third pairing defensively is like it's a use at your own risk. Use sparingly. And that's not to say I'm not a fan of what Bogosian does, but it's more the other guy in that pairing than anything. Traffic cone. I was going to look something up. Don't mind me. And if I don't do it on my phone, like if I try to do it on the laptop, I'll screw up the score bug. So that's why I keep going to my phone to look things up. Your leader in shots, because here's the other thing. Not only did Kirill Kaprizov only have one shot in the Ottawa game, Joel Eriksson Ek didn't have any. And so Eriksson Ek now leading the team with 3. But the fact that Zach Bogosian has 2 and that Kaprizov has 1 is, again, not great. Not great. That's going to be that is my objective, is when the Wild play on Friday against Colorado. Looks like we got a delayed penalty here. The Wild with the power play. On Friday after Thanksgiving, in that game against Colorado, I am just going to watch Kaprizov, because we can only watch what the camera shows us on TV, but on Friday you'll have the full angle of the ice to take a look at what's going on. All right, Toronto setting up for... Oh no, I'm still not on the penalty. That explains it. I was like, why are they setting up shorthanded? But I'm still not there. Good Lord. Where's this penalty? Oh, there we go. All right, Eriksson Ek with a couple of shots, but this power play will be done by the time I get to it. All right. Let's remember too, on the John Merrill trade front, he was able to find a buyer for Dmitry Kulikov, who I would argue was somehow worse. Kulikov was bigger. He's bigger and he actually is physical, but defensively he's not good. All right, a draw win on the face-off. Shot through traffic. Again, right on the goalie. So it wouldn't surprise me if they do decide to trade Johnny Vibes. It wouldn't surprise me if they are able to find a backer. It's if they decide to do it. Tried to pass to Kaprizov and it hops over his stick. But there was an opportunity for Kirill there for a shot. Just puck bounced. All right, Spurgeon to Zuccarello. Zuccarello dumps it in. We'll give and go. Back across. Shot. That went high. Boldy gets it back. Back over to Kaprizov. To Eriksson Ek. Back to Kaprizov. Back to Spurgeon at the top. Tipped back out again. Far side, Zuccarello shot, sails to the left of the net. Pass out to Kaprizov near side. Kaprizov shot blocked. And Toronto controls. 30 seconds left in the power play. It's a good feed by Kaprizov over to Boldy for the shot, but again, just blocked. Wild are getting a ton of shots blocked as well. So that's the percentages again. Is 30-ish% of the Wild shots are just not going to hit the net. Another 30% are getting blocked. And so if you have 65% of your shots that aren't even getting through or on target, that leaves you 35% to actually score your goals. Power play has expired. Wild did actually get some shots. They're back on top in the shots department. $12.28 mark. I'm at $13.19. Can they trade any of the four that they signed, 89, 36, 17, or 38, before next season? You'd think, Glenn, if this season just let's just say for argument's sake that this season continues like this, that they stretch this out over the course of the entire season and just have just a bad one all around. You would think that they would have to make some sort of change and not just say the roster needs to be better. That was, I think, one of the frustrating things about how the last two off seasons have gone, is that the consensus from Bill Guerin has been, we need to be better. We need to be better. Like, well, yeah, but you can try to give it just a little bit of a look, a little bit of a different look than just doing the same thing. I wish Locked On Wild was around back in the early 2000s. I can't tell you guys how many years I was basically a solo fan. Look at this, 21 other psychos to hang out with. See, this is why we do this. Is I took over this show, and it had been around for a couple of seasons before I took over as host. But since 2021, since March of 2021, it's been like, let's just continue to build a following, build a community so that we can do stuff like this. And who else is doing anything like this? Like there aren't a ton of other shows in this market that do these types of things. And this is the fun stuff that we get an opportunity to do. So I appreciate everybody that hopped in and is hanging out and watching the game with us. Jake just woke up and looks like the 2022-2023 Minnesota Wild out there. I would take a much larger sample of that than what we're currently getting. Looks like the Wild are going on the power play yet again. I believe it was Foligno that drew the penalty. But you got to do something. Oh, yeah. The 2023, 2024. I figured that's what you meant. Yeah, just more of the same. More of the same stuff that we have seen all season. You know, it's funny too, on the Foligno front, is you can look at statistically what he has done so far this year and say he hasn't been too bad considering what he does, but he's going to be what, 35 by the time the deal is done? And that's just a long commitment to make to these types of guys. I think we've seen that if you're looking for bottom six help, like fourth line guys, you can find them a lot of different places. You don't have to necessarily lock in guys that you expect will take over those roles. You don't necessarily have to lock those guys in long term. That's I think the most frustrating part of that whole experience is like, what is going to change about this group over the next couple of seasons? It's the same group that we have on almost a game by game basis. Metal listens at work. Appreciate that. Appreciate all the everydayers that are joining us here in the stream. See, if Freddie, Hartman, and Moose is your fourth line a couple of seasons from now, that's fine. But there's just a difference in pay. Like, you look at that combination, it would be a solid fourth line, but like, you've got $8 million tied into Foligno and Hartman, and then another $2 million for Gaudreau. That's the thing, is just the deals itself. Like, why didn't we wait until after the season was done to get those all locked in? Just wait until after the season, see how things go. I don't think there's going to be a huge market that you're going to have to fight against. But now we'll never know. All right, can we get a damn goal here, please? Something. Yeah, this is the other frightening part about this too, is who's going to hit that plateau, 30 goal plateau. I think they have a couple of players on pace, but how long does that pace continue? Like, Rossi right now is projected for 30. How fun of a story would that be, by the way, if Rossi ends up being the 30 goal scorer for this team? I'd be in favor of that. So, like, Rossi's on pace for 30 plus. Hartman is on pace for 36. Eriksson Ek, I think, is on pace for 30 as well. Eriksson Ek's on pace for 40. So, and again, pace is only good if you keep it up. I believe Rossi is, I think he's got one more. I think he has this season and maybe next. Let's check the old cap friendly and see what is going on there. Because yeah, you're going to need to lock him in to a new deal. And with how he has played this season, it's probably going to be a little more on the expensive side than what it previously had been. All right. Rossi, where did you go? Mike says the ELC ends after. Yeah, so Rossi's locked in until after 2024, 2025. So he's got 2 more seasons. So the good news there is that he is locked in until Parise and Suter, until those cap hits drop down to minimum levels. So the good news there is that the Wilds will have more money in play, because I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but Brock Faber is same boat. So you're going to have to get those two locked in. But you'll have the money to do it. So Faber and Rossi, you got to look at those guys as part of your next core. So make sure that you lock them in. Don't let them out in the cold. Yeah. Honestly, if Rossi's the highest scorer on this team at the end of the season, I don't know if we can make it to the playoffs. No, I like if Kaprizov or Boldy are not leading the way in the goals department, like let's say Rossi leads this team with let's just say 25, finishes the season with 25 goals, which I think would be amazing for him and for what was expected this season. If Rossi leads the way and Kaprizov is lower than that, Boldy's lower than that, it's not a playoff team. It is not. So, yeah. Again, the cap penalties gone in 2 seasons, and the Wilds can regroup from there. Yeah, it's going to be a trudge. It's going to be it's going to be a trudge these next 2 seasons, especially if they just continue to run this back. So that needs to be a point made over and over. While they're going on the power play again, maybe score a goal. Just a thought. This season and next, Amanda, for both Faber and Rossi. So those two are locked in until the cap hits are minimized. Oh, great. Now Eriksson Ek is hurt. With Parisi and Suter on the team, I mean, I know what we would probably see would be Ryan Suter on your top power play, and I don't think he has the skill set to I don't think he has a skill set, and Zach Parisi is essentially retired. He's not playing at this point, and so I think it probably looks similar to this, but it could be worse. Yeah. He is what is he favoring here? Yeah, he's not even able to get to the bench. Marner going to the box. Okay, now he's up. But kind of doubled over. Oh, it's the last thing this team needs. Good Lord. Bring Parisi back. Have him take over the Pat Maroon role next year. I'm obviously joking, but it could be kind of funny. If they bring Parisi back, does the cap hit just evaporate then? Probably not, but who knows? What I've noticed is that each year, I don't think Kaprizov is improving as a player. He can make moves, but he can't shoot or keep the puck. Not what I thought I would see after his rookie season. It's with Kaprizov, it's just at some points he looks disinterested. At some points he looks timid. At some points he looks, I don't know. You're just not getting that consistent. It'd be one thing if he's shooting the puck a ton and the shots just aren't going in. Then you could say, well, he's just not cashing in on those opportunities. But then you have games like we saw yesterday where you call his name maybe one time the entirety of the game, and we're seeing a carbon copy of that. There just is no like signature moments for Kirill Kaprizov. It's, well, I think at some point the messaging coming from the players that or the guys that are leading the team gets stale, gets flat. And no urgency in like any point of the game. John is right. There's just no urgency for this team at this point. It just is a team that just, I think, has the mindset that it's going to get better. But unless you actually take active steps to make sure that it happens, it's not going to. Locked on Wild, Boldy misses the net challenge. Everybody take a drink of whatever you have. Another power play comes and goes. 0 for 3 in the second alone. Just diseased. Back out to the top. Spurgeon to Kaprizov. Back across immediately to Boldy. Like, touches the puck for a second and just right back to somebody else. He just, like, this is a great point. He looks like a fourth line guy at this point. Just as there's no urgency to shoot. Although I'm seeing here that he actually did get another shot on net. So for those of us keeping track at home, which we are, Kirill now has 2 shots on net. 2 shots. We've made it. Dean's mixing up Denny. Oh my God. I'm so sorry about that. That was a complete Freudian slip. I just called Denny Dean. Pack it up. Shut it down. Denny's mixing a Kraken right now, getting ready to do a puff that takes the pain away. Yeah, 100% increase in shots by Kaprizov. I know. I'm like, somebody come get me. Like, that was bad. I'm embarrassed about it, but yeah. Great drinking game from John. Hartman can't hit the earth. Boldy likes the noise the glass makes. Zuccarello holds the puck. Never heard of a one-timer. Yeah, you can play that for a bunch of different things that are going on with this team. At what point does Dean get fired if this keeps up? Well, it is November 19th. We all know the adage. If you are in a playoff position at Thanksgiving, you usually end up getting to the playoffs. Well, guess what? After this game, the Wild have won. They have no more games until Thanksgiving. So you lose here. You are 5-12, 5-9-3. You're not in a playoff position at Thanksgiving. I think we know how this movie ends. I missed a comment earlier that I want to get back to? I got to find it. It was in regards to new assistant coach Jason King. I want to highlight it because it was spot on. But of course I don't think I'm going to be able to find it. Well, anyway, the comment wasn't Jason King brought in to fix this mess with the power play, and you have a power play that is just not able to score at this point. They're generating some looks, but again, your power play is judged on scoring. Your penalty kill is judged on preventing the other team from scoring. And combined, the Wild have the worst special teams in the NHL. Worst penalty kill by a mile. Power play is just not getting it done. Like, this is something else. Let's look at the positives. Never mind. I literally spent 5 minutes trying to think of real positives. Help me, please. Well, Rossi and Faber are the two to really hang our hats on as to how they've looked so far this season. Those are the positives so far this year, and their development is going to be a huge part of this puzzle going forward. So if they continue to improve and show signs of what they have done so far this season, that's the real win this year, is those two continuing to play well. If they continue to get it done, that's the thing that you hang on to as this season rolls along. Less than a minute to play here. Yeah, this is let's get to this comment in a second from Scalp Trash. But first, we do have a Kirill Kaprizov moment. Just about had what would have been his second even strength goal of the season, which is just a preposterously low number for 16 games in. But it didn't quite go in, so there's maybe a sign, maybe, of life. Who picks the assistant coaches? The coach or the GM? The power play is worse than last year, if that's even possible. When Dean is fired, they need to clean house. No coaches stay this time. I'm in full agreement, and I don't see there being any way you can justify keeping both coach or keeping the assistants, because the thing that the assistants are in charge of is not working. So just full clean house. Denny has been on this train since the season started, that there will be a new coach by the All-Star break. Honestly, if this continues, like, maybe you make the change at the end of the year. If you're not going to make it, I don't know. It's tricky because, again, you got to look at this through the lens of the general manager who picked Dean Evison as his guy. So I think the decision is going to come from Leopold. And at some point he's going to say, this is, we can't do this anymore. You gotta make a change. And All-Star break, full week to get a new system integrated. That's probably most likely how this will go down, because if you're still doing this at the All-Star break, you are not sniffing a playoff spot at all. So maybe that ends up being the standard. So we head to the second intermission, still 2-1, Toronto on top, and the hits just continue for this Minnesota Wild team. Thank you everybody for hanging out during the Sweden streams. We're gonna blaze all the way through this game. Whatever happens, which at this point looks as though it's going to be the same things. Yeah. Also note on the All-Star game, nobody from the Wild's going to be All-Stars. I mean, at this point, you could maybe make a case for one player, maybe Rossi. I don't know. Not really a team that deserves, I don't think, to have any All-Stars at this point. We are the third worst team in the NHL. And let's consider the other options. You've got the San Jose Sharks, who are fully committed to being bad. So you know they're going to be bad. You've got them. You've got Edmonton, who fired their coach already. And honestly, like, I was looking into this as it happens, like, Edmonton is just straight up losing games. Like, with the exception of the early games of the season against Vancouver, that one where they got just rocked 8-2, I think it was. With the exception of that game, it's not like Edmonton was getting run off the ice every night. So you could make a case that the current product that the Wild have put on the ice is a more fireable offense than that. Those are your three. Those are your three worst teams. We are worse than Chicago right now. We're worse than Arizona right now. We're worse than Anaheim right now. Worse than Calgary right now. Or wait, is Chicago worse? If Edmonton or San Jose are better than us in the standings, I'm going to vomit. I'm pulling the standings up right now. As you can tell, very prepared. Let's check those standings. So, points-wise, the Wild have 13 points. So Columbus is worse. Nashville is worse. Chicago is worse. San Jose is worse. Edmonton is worse. From points perspective, there are only 3 teams. Nashville actually has more wins than the Wild. There are only 2 teams that have fewer wins: Columbus and San Jose. Edmonton has the same number of wins, and Chicago has the same number of wins. But the fact that we have 3 pity points, that's the reason that we're ahead of them in the standings. The OT special. Congratulations for getting to overtime. Here's a point for your effort, which don't even get me started about that. They should have just you shouldn't get a point for going to overtime and not finishing the job. Like, don't even get me started on that. Coyotes are a ton of fun. I'm hoping that they are able to get into a postseason spot, but it remains to be seen at this point. Ron noting Bruce Boudreau was fired mid-season with term left. Guess who fired him? Current general manager Bill Guerin. and replaced him with Dean Evison. So that's how that coin went. Brian went to church yesterday to pray for a Wild win. At least I'm having fun this morning hanging out here. We're all just trying to get through it. Hope that this team wins, but it so far has just looked like the same old thing. Same old thing that happens every game. Surprising Chicago is worse than the Wild record-wise, given how well Bedard is playing versus Kaprizov. And this is the other point, too. Like, if you are Columbus, you have some young players that you're building around. You've got Fantilli, obviously. You're building around him. Chicago has Bedard. San Jose is trying to be bad and succeeding very much. But, like, if you're the Minnesota Wilds, what are you building towards other than just getting through these 2 seasons to get these cap numbers down? That's really all you got at this point. If we can pick up 7 points on every team in the league by the end of the season, we are in business. Only 5 points out of a wild card spot at this point. All the OTLs this year weren't because we came back and tied it up, but we slacked off and let the other team come back. Yeah, that's the other thing too. It's like you aren't figuring things out and finding ways to get games to overtime. You're hanging on for dear life after the other team comes away and finds a way to tie the game up. You're hanging on for dear life to just hope for a point. They gave Evison the full-time gig too quickly because that COVID season messed everything up. Here's the other part about that is rewarding the head coach and a handful of players for their performance in that 2021-2022 season, which is clearly not the that's not the season that is sustainable amongst what we have seen. Like, they're very much closer to what we saw last season than 2 years ago. Like, so I don't know why you would expect that 2 seasons ago would be the standard, as opposed to saying, hey, we're the team that we saw last year that struggles to score goals, plays good defense, and gets good goaltending. That's the season you should try to be replicating with this bunch. Yeah. And I even use the word fluke. Like, yeah, Mike, I get the point that you're making, that he was given the full-time gig too quickly and then given an extension subsequently after that. It seems like it's been rushed decisions, like giving him the full-time gig and then giving him an extension after that. Like Oprah, you get a deal, you get a deal, you get a deal. If Kaprizov doesn't get going and they don't get better consistency-wise, this will be a real bad season. Yes, it's looking the same. It's like 4 or 5 different things that are problem areas: goaltending, defense, special teams, the top players not performing up to par. And you just take one of those prize wheels, like Wheel of Fortune, and you spin it, and you just see what you end up with. And I thought about this. Maybe that'll be a bit that we incorporate the rest of the season if this continues. Is let's see if we can guess how the Wild are going to lose a particular game. Is it going to be defense? Is it going to be goaltending? Is it? Yeah, everything is a problem. Just at different points with this team. And it feels like You get something like in yesterday's game, you get something short up. You get the defense and the goaltending short up a little bit, and then the special teams, the power play is not able to get it done, and you can't score. So it's a mess. Looking forward to Yurov, Ugrin, and Hustendinov. And those guys are coming. They are going to be here in North America next season. And so the hope is that they'll be able to help this team out within maybe at most a couple of seasons and can really just help plug some of these holes in this top six that this team just doesn't have enough skill. Those three will help. They will help tremendously in that regard. 2025, everyone hang on until then. Well, we'll see. We'll get through it as a group. We will get through it. Strength in numbers. We'll get through it as a show, as an audience. We're just going to continue to churn out the content until this turns around. And even when it turns around, we'll have shows. If they win, if they lose, I don't care. We're still making the content. I'm with BG with almost every move, but I think he has an ego thing and tried to salvage this season by re-signing players in Bogosian, and it bit him with our stars struggling all in the same year. Well, the ego certainly seems to be part of it in that, at the end of last season, when Russo asked him if he considers the season a failure, and he said, no, I don't. We didn't play well. We didn't do as well as we'd hoped, but it's not a failure. It's like, what is your definition of failure then? Like being okay with getting to the playoffs and going no further? Is that a success? I don't think so. I don't think any season in which, now, if you want to look at success and failure in different ways, like evaluation of players, that's one thing, but we'll see. Guerin would have been a great GM 10 to 20 years ago when teams were big and played heavy. Unfortunately, times have changed and he's living in the past. This is a great point too. I think I have tried to be one of the shows that points out that you just can't win games without speed and skill. This team doesn't have a lot of it. They don't have a lot in either category. And it shows when you go up against teams that have it. It shows how much you miss it as things go. If Dean doesn't play that trio, I'm going to have something to say about that. We're going to have an intervention if those guys don't play because there's no reason to not. There's no reason to not play them. On one hand, it's getting past the first round isn't worth anything that we are here for the cup. And on the other hand, hey, we had a great regular season. That's what I'm saying is like, yes, it's, I understand the sentiment that we're not a team that is building for winning a playoff series. Like that should never be a team's only goal. That happens as a result of you getting towards something bigger. But like to just completely dismiss it, I think is the wrong approach. Like we're just flat out saying like we're not trying to win just a playoff series. Like look at what the Minnesota Twins did this season. You had a couple of players who came into this nucleus, Pablo Lopez being one of them. He didn't run from the postseason failures of the last 18 times the Twins had gone to the playoffs. He didn't run from any of that. He embraced it. He embraced pressure is privilege, I think was the exact quote that Pablo Lopez had when he took the mound in the series against Toronto. Pressure is privilege. And he was certainly a huge reason as to why the Twins were able to stop that longest postseason losing streak in professional sports in North America. You have to embrace those types of things in order to get to where you want to go. Today's NHL is a need for speed. This squad is slow, very slow. They're chasing constantly chasing what is going on when they get behind. They don't like what is somebody let's get the comment section going on this. A lot of times teams have their thing, like their particular brand, their particular style of hockey. This Minnesota Wild team doesn't have that. They don't have one thing that you can hang your hat on as this is how the Minnesota Wild win games this year. They shut out the Florida Panthers on opening night. They beat a Montreal Canadiens team that is just horrendously bad. And wouldn't you know it, Montreal has more points right now than the Minnesota Wild do. They have 2 more wins. And that Montreal team that the Wild played was garbage. Like, there is no single thing that this Wild team right now can hang their hat on as like, this is our thing. This is how we win games. And that's a problem. Like, you don't have any single area that you can say if we're winning, it's working. Like, the thing too with 2021, 2022 was we're going to score a ton of goals. We're going to just relentlessly pressure you offensively. And like last year, it was very, very few and far in between opportunities in which they actually possessed the puck. And this notion of grit, like, it sounds fine in a vacuum, but grit is a phrase that you use when you're a team that doesn't have skill or speed. And so I guess props to the Wild for admitting that and embracing the fact that they're not a speed or skilled team. But do something about it. Do something about it. Yeah, Mike's not wrong. Grit died with the grief line. And it feels like this team did too. When the grief line died, it feels like this team died too. They haven't recovered from that ever since they had to break that trio up. Just doesn't seem like they have doesn't seem like they've recovered. Now, this is an interesting conversation as well for Spurgeon being the captain. I have always been of the belief that a team needs a vocal leader. It's not always the case necessarily, but it feels like this team has always had more soft-spoken guys as captains. Mikko Koivu was the captain forever. I don't even know what his voice sounds like, which should tell you about the number of times that he was vocal about things that needed to change or things that need to be fixed. I don't even know what Mikko Koivu sounds like. And now you have the same thing with Spurgeon, who is a more soft-spoken leader. I don't know. I think a lot of people here would agree that when things aren't going well, that somebody needs to just get mad and throw something, throw a chair, show that you give a damn. That's all it is for me. Want to mention the first game of the season, I told myself we wouldn't win many games if we continued to pass like that, even with the goaltending. Here we are 16 games later, and that's proven very true. That's an astute observation. And we don't even have the goaltending anymore. We'll always have opening night, a shutout in which the Wild had to hang on for dear life because Florida got pretty much everything they wanted. And they could not get it going. If not Spurge, who should have the C, it's maybe a season or two too early for this, but honestly, I mean, Foligno probably from a vocal standpoint is the right choice. I would love to see Brock Faber get it at some point because I think he has it. I think he's got what is necessary for that type of role. But honestly, if you're going to give it to somebody else, I think you go Foligno. I think Foligno's vocal enough and he is a presence enough on ice to where you would I think he would wear that well. Will that change come? Probably not. So we'll see. We're back to the action here for the final 20. Can somebody please, for my well-being, tie this game up? I'm begging. I am pleading for somebody to muster up the game-tying goal. Will it happen? We'll see. All right, Gaudreau with the shots was blocked, and Toronto will tip it out. Nearly a breakaway opportunity. Boldy would be a good choice too. Let's get him back on track this season, and throw him into the mix too. C is voted on by the team or given by the coaching staff. I know the alternate captains were voted on by the team. As far as the captain goes, I think there is say by both the coaching staff and the players. I'm not sure exactly how that works, but it's something that I think should be revisited. Spurgeon is another good example of contract exceeding the player. No longer worth $7.5 million. Wasn't good in the Dallas series. Ronnie has not been good in the last two postseasons. Against St. Louis, against Dallas. And, I looked at this early, like before the season started, is that Spurgeon right now is, well, at least before the season started, like last year, he was giving you production equal to the contract that he had signed. Last couple of seasons, he's been above average, giving you, good return on that $7.5 million, but now he's not. Like he's meeting it and or below that level of production, and there are more than a few seasons left of that, which is a concern as well. Like this team got old and locked in very quickly, too quickly, for their own good. I think there is certainly some of this too. We see more frequent injuries now. Getting crumpled into the boards by an opposing player that is bigger than you is going to impact a lot of different players. But we've seen Spurgeon deal with injuries on more than a couple of occasions, pretty much every season over the last few years. Make Merrill the captain. Look at me. I'm the captain now. I mean, he scored the goal. He scored the goal today. But that was just, I think, to make me look bad. Kaprizov has been an issue all season. Should have 10 goals by now. He is entirely too power play dependent, and Toronto just scored again. Yeah, Kaprizov is not playing anywhere close to a top guy this year. And Denny's right on. This is a pivotal point for him because you now have to try to get him back on track because he's going to be looking for a new deal here in a couple of seasons. And I'm just going to say this right now. I still am of the belief that this will get turned around, but like at what point do you go from we need to find a way to keep this guy to this guy is too much of a detriment on the ice right now? Like they at some point it's become to the point that Kaprizov is hurting you more than he's helping. Shot from the face-off circle. Who is that now? Heading for a wild record in straight losses. Yeah, so this will be 5 in a row. Jeez. This is absolutely taking a turn. Marner off the wall, around behind the net. Matthews to face-off circle. I think that was Morgan Riley that scored. Yeah, it'll be Gus the next game against the Avalanche. Fleury's been okay in this one, but again, your problems stem far above what you are getting in net. Yeah. And now we're just throwing just a bunch of different things at this. Bogosian and Brodin, you're just line blending in games. It speaks to not really having any answers as to how to fix this. It's panic. Speaking of face-offs, when was the last time the Wild have had above 50%? Well, it was okay for a bit against Ottawa yesterday, and then they just ended up getting torched at the end. They just at the end of the game they had lost I think they had lost 33 and they won 21 of them. Face-offs aren't a problem until they are a problem, if that makes sense. Like this team has showed over the last couple of seasons they can win without winning a ton of face-offs, but it just has led to so many quick goals this season off of draws. It's everything is a major problem with this team. Tim Army got fired for not winning in the playoffs. It's at some point it's going to happen if this continues. Is there anybody exciting they can call up, or is this it? Well, due to the current salary cap situation, this is pretty much it. And now with everybody but Alex Goligoski back, depending on when he comes back, you go back to not having any money to call up anybody other than a couple of guys. Desperately need to get some low-tier opponents to get the confidence back. Yeah, but we saw how that went. Remember when we played Columbus and they were playing on the second night of a back-to-back and they put 50 shots on net? It at this point, it just doesn't seem to matter who they play. You're finding ways. You are last year's Calgary Flames team. You're finding ways to lose games as opposed to finding ways to win them. You're finding ways to lose. Congratulations, the Minnesota Wild are last year's Calgary Flames. And we saw what happened after that season. It was Daryl Sutter stuck in his ways, hung on for too long. Didn't like to play young players. Teams got to play better. And yeah, how'd that work out? So Middleton scored to make it 3-2. There's hope. There's life. Only scores are from our D so far this season. That's a huge problem. Giving multi-year deals to aging players with no movement clauses didn't help. Kaprizov's at 2.6 points per 60 this year. He was at 4.2 in 2020, 2021. And Kyle, he's not as bad, I think, as we're seeing. He maybe is not consistently as good as he was in 2021, 2022, but like you can't be top of the mountain, bottom of the valley. Like you have to find a medium. And I think that is why that's why it's so frustrating, is because at this point he's not providing you anything that is factoring into to winning these games. Can we dump any contracts? I mean, there's always stuff you can do with those types of players, but again, it comes down to, I don't think Bill Guerin is going to want to admit that his formula isn't working. Like that's the big part about this, is that he then has to admit that this didn't work. And if he can't admit that last season was a failure, he's not going to admit that his team that he put together isn't working. Moose reminds me of Lou We might as well just call him Lou Farino. I don't want another 50-plus old boys club guy. I want either Woodcroft or a 30-something-year-old who's into analytics and will develop the offense. So this is where this becomes key. This is where you need to either look at a guy like Woodcroft, but I'll tell you, with Woodcroft, he had a particular system that he ran that didn't work. Gerard Gallant, another name that is popular as a potential Dean replacement. And I'll tell you this about Gallant. Gallant had a particular system that he ran, few adjustments, didn't really trust young players in New York. Those are the reasons that he got ran out of New York, which is exactly what we're seeing here. What I would like to see, if this team is going to make a change at head coach, is to go outside the organization, go to, let's just use, for instance, go to the Colorado Avalanche and pluck one of their assistants, maybe on the younger side. Pluck an assistant from somebody who consistently wins. I know the Carolina Hurricanes are struggling so far this season, but go get one of Rod Brindamore's guys to come in here and install that type of a system. Like you have to have somebody here that is going to be a little bit with the times, not not Mike Babcock. Oh, that's good. Well, at least we would know what was on particular Wild players' phones because he would go through it. So I would say go get somebody from another system that is successful, that's proven. Honestly, the fact that they won, I know they've only won one Stanley Cup here recently, but um, you gotta you've got to go find somebody that is going to be able to do exactly what Denny said here. Use a system that brings out the best in your players, not a system that is going to just say, this is what we do. You adjust to it, plain and simple. Something that accentuates the things that your team brings to the table. Minnesota Wild now tied. And honestly, like, they're going to review this. They're reviewing it, it looks like. We'll see. All right, so what do we have? We got to save. Oh, I'm still substantially behind. Who said Vegas assistant? See, that would be another good area to pull from. You see this all the time when somebody's hiring a new GM. They go and they get from a successful franchise, they get an assistant who maybe should be getting another opportunity somewhere else, but just doesn't have that opportunity because of who they currently have in his GM. Go get those types of guys and bring them in. Faber on the drive, tipped in front, and we are tied. In 8 of the past 10 games, the Wild have 3 goals or less. Yeah, it has morphed to the defense and the goaltending were issues. Now that seems to have kind of been shored up, it continues now to be the offense and the power play that are causing issues. Faber driving in, needs captaincy today. He shows up. It wouldn't surprise me, John, if they look at Faber for captainship at some point. But again, a lot of these decisions are those that have to be made by the higher ups who are not going to necessarily be inclined to admit that mistakes have been made. And let's be honest, like if it's me, I probably am going to have I'm probably going to have a hard time admitting I made a mistake if it needs correcting. Nobody likes to be wrong. And Lord Obsidian is right. 3-3, a little opportunity for positivity. How about we go get that go-ahead goal now and win this game? Go take it. Yeah, Jared Bednar is one of the best coaches in the NHL. And so I think if you could pull now, there was another comment, and I think it's lost at this point, but I'm not sure what the rules are for hiring coaches in season from other staffs. I know there are protections against that in, say, the NFL or in other sports. So it would be something that I think you'd have to look at in the offseason. Maybe you just appoint somebody as interim for the rest of this year, and then you go take a full look at a coaching search in the offseason. But just go to a staff that consistently wins and go pull an up-and-comer from there. You see it in the NFL more too. Offensive and defensive coordinators getting chances and not just recycling coaches like the NHL loves to do. The NHL has a coach recycling problem. Like so many guys that get opportunities. Mike Babcock out of the year for 5 years, out of the game for 5 years. And Columbus is like, sure, why not? Now, he obviously didn't even start the season, but Had the phone thing not happened, they would have been fine with him being an old school guy, and they were ready to just roll with that. I'd say if Spurge loses the C, maybe also trade him. He seems like the guy to pout and not play it off well. I think at the end of the day, I think that is a contract that you're probably going to have to look to get out from under, because there are still, I believe, 4 seasons left of that thing at $7 million per. And if you're going to keep one or the other, I say you go Brodeen. I think you keep Brodeen of the two. I think that's the one that's most likely going to work out the best, and it's the cheaper cap hit for this team. So yeah, great rosters make coaches look good. 2021, 2022. Back when speed and skill were still a thing. And honestly, like, Tampa Bay is a great example too. And the John Cooper experience, that dude coached at every level. He was a coach in all the way down the list. He was an AHL coach that won. He coached at lower levels than that, and he won there too. And then he comes in and he takes Tampa Bay to a new level because he holds players accountable. He holds players accountable for lackluster performances. He is somebody that, again, and I come back to this phrase, he's somebody that doesn't just expect that things are going to turn around. He demands it. And I think you as a coach have to, if you see things going on, you can't just expect that they're going to change. You have to demand that they do. Faber stepped right in, totally committed to winning. Faber he's got a little old school to him. And I think he just has an appreciation for what you have to do in order to be a winner. I know the Gophers aren't playing particularly well so far to start this season, but I think he benefited from having Bob Motzko as a head coach with the Gophers, a guy who has been around a long time. And again, I think just there has been too much for this team of just allowing things to play themselves out. Like, if you let the players police themselves all the time, and if they end up getting locked in with deals to where they're around for 4 or 5 seasons, who cares? Who cares if you're not winning? It's nice to see the Wild aren't in cap hell and paying 2 guys who aren't on their team anymore to not play. Oh wait. Here we are. Yeah. Also with Kaprizov, there's so much. I think there are multiple issues going on with him. And I think the lack of confidence has led to him not even really looking to shoot as much now, or just sending easy shots on net like the one that he just did. Sends one towards the net and Wall makes just an easy glove save. Brock Faber absolutely should be running the top power play, Denny. I agree. I think you see a young player in Faber who is not afraid of the moment. Give him the opportunity and just let him do his thing. Even if the Wild win this game, I hope BG can see the issues here and make some kind of move. I mean, honestly, at this point, like, if he doesn't want to get rid of his guy, you've got a perfectly acceptable move that could be made, in that your special teams just continue to be a mess. Start there. Start with something to shake things up a little bit, just to try to get the urgency across for this team. that things need to improve. Wild remind me of the movie The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly all in one game. Spot the lie. I mean, there are good things that this team does. There are some just horrendously bad things. And at points, you're like, this is a mess. Down 3-1. It's ugly. But now they're back. They've battled back to at least tie it up. Faber reminds me of Scott Niedermayer of the Devils. And I think the exciting thing, too, with Faber is that there is an assumption that his game is going to continue to it's going to continue to grow. Like, he's just scratching the surface as to what he can be as an NHL player, and he already looks every bit of the part for this team. Kyle read a comment on a YouTube chat from someone that saw skates over there and said there is a lack of direction or intensity in Wild practices. This was what got Daryl Sutter fired. Is that they stopped practicing. Like, they got through the entire season and players were like, yeah, we didn't really practice the power play at all. I get trying to keep players fresh from throughout the course of the season. It is a long season, but how do you expect to improve in particular areas if you don't work on them? If you don't practice, how do you expect to get better? And the answer is you can't. All right, we got like 5 minutes left. This is also a good point. That is, I think we're seeing just too much hands off, like not, I think, not wanting to see things clearly, or not wanting to hold players accountable, being afraid to hold players too accountable. And so you get what happened after the Dallas game. Clearly wanting to call some players out after the game, but then choosing not to do so. Like, what are we doing here? What are we doing? Thank you, J-Lep. I like to think I have a grasp of what's going on with this team, even though it's maddening and it just drives you insane. All right, we got 4.5. Let's get something going here in regulation. I'm hungry for the 2 points. Just for my own mental sanity. Yeah. Good leaders lead. Good leaders show the way and don't accept anything less than full effort in what you're trying to do. St. Louis worked on the power play every day and kicked our ass in the postseason. And, this is funny too, because like, look at the Dallas dynamic in what's happened in the postseason against Dallas and what happened this past matchup. Their head coach makes no bones about it. He says, and I don't know why I'm blanking on his name right now. Somebody help me out. I cannot, for whatever reason, think of the name of the Dallas Stars head coach, and it's driving me nuts. We'll get it in the comments here in a second. He said point blank, he's like, we know that the Wild are going to try to send a message And so if they end up committing penalties, we're going to make them pay on the power play. Pete DeBoer, thank you, Kyle. I could not, for whatever reason, think of what his name was, but he said straight up, he's like, they're going to try to be physical, and they're going to try to frustrate us. They take penalties, we'll make them pay on the power play. He is like, that's one example of which you've got a head coach on the other team that's just coaching circles around Dean. Craig Berube did it the previous postseason. And, not only to add to the frustration, but the last two postseasons, the Wild have had 2-1 leads in the series and have at times throttled the opponent. In the game in the series against St. Louis a couple years ago, they had, I think, like 3 goals in the early part of the game against the Blues. You lead 2-1, and then the coaches that are on the other side make all the adjustments. They know what to attack, and we just keep doing the same thing. Yeah, DeBoer did lead. He did lead the Sharks to a final, and that's kind of the Pete DeBoer experience, is that he gets the team to maximum levels of compete early on in his tenure, and then things start to slowly kind of tail off after that. He did it with San Jose. He did it with Vegas. He did it with Dallas last year, although last year they ended up losing to Vegas in the Western Conference Final. Is still pretty farther than the Wild can get. Kyle, this is an adjustment. This is an in-game coaching detail that would require your head coach to be able to catch that and notice it, as opposed to just rolling the line combinations out there on a line by line basis. So, it would seem like that would be a good opportunity to get a little confidence boost with the empty net, but they don't seem to really take advantage of that. Dean has proven time and time again he's incapable of making adjustments, both postseason series. And you even go to the series against the Vegas Golden Knights from the previous season, in which they lose in 7. You lose Brodin early on in Game 7, and you just get completely walked off the ice. So it's happened in 3 consecutive postseasons that you're just getting tremendously outcoached. At this point, I go back and forth, and now I'm in the mode of like, just get it to overtime. Like, don't give up a goal here late in regulation to where we're going to end up having one of those heartbreaking late losses. Pete DeBoer outcoached Evason in Vegas and Dallas, and Berube outcoached Dean in St. Louis as well. Absolutely right on. And that Vegas series was the Marc-Andre Fleury takeover series, at least early on. But yeah, postseason wins come from being willing to change from your style that got you there in the regular season, being willing to drop it and to just go with what's working. And this team just doesn't. Like, it just is, okay, we got to keep our formula and just continue to pound away. I got news for you. It's not leading to much in the way of results. Toronto just knows too. You know that they're just sitting here saying, okay, if we get this to overtime, we're going to be able to chip away and get a win here. Big thing other than low shooting percentage is Kaprizov's lack of hits. He had 1 hit per game roughly last year, and he's at 0.59 this year. Is that not a bit troubling considering how he usually plays with an edge? Yeah, he just looks, well, disinterested is one way you can put it. Lost is another. But it's not anywhere near where Kaprizov has been in previous seasons. And it's not something that they're showing the back-to-back things again. Like, I could care less if the Wilds have been a good team on the second night of a back-to-back. I don't care. Like, you haven't won you haven't won back-to-backs yet this year. Lost to the Rangers, lost to Buffalo. Sweet. And we head to overtime. Yeah, it's got to be Kaprizov is still hurts, still not sure of himself. Yeah. A lot of guys just kind of have mailed it in. Just are tired of how things are continuing to play out, which is concerning this early into the season. That's a problem. Oh, Vibers is live from Sweden. Welcome in to the Sweden streams. Amanda, this is something that I've talked about in previous episodes. Like, can we try to attack the high areas of the net as opposed to simply just rifling pad saves on the opposing goalie? Like, buzz the ears a little bit. So, do something. We applaud you, Quadrum, for trying to will this to an OT winner for Kaprizov. He could use it, certainly. This isn't a bad take either. Fear of getting injured again or hurt more. And I know, like, the MRI said that there is nothing that popped up, but fear of aggravating an injury is a substantial thing. It's a legitimate thing. So if there is an injury, I wouldn't want to aggravate something if I was dealing with an injury. But that's just me. I'd also be I would also be afraid to get hurt at all. Like, if I took even a bump, I'd be on the couch for a month. All right, OT. How do we think this is going to play out? I would like to see. I wouldn't mind seeing that combination for one, but I don't know. Let's just not see this turn into a let's just not see this turn into another. I don't want a shootout. Like, that'd be a disaster. Yeah, he on Monday on Monday, he ironically missed the heavy day of practice or wasn't as active of a part in it. But he did get an MRI. It didn't show anything, but they have said that Dean said that he had a bump somewhere. That's as vague as we get. Overtime record for Toronto is 4-2. Wild are 1-3. What if Kaprizov has already peaked? Maybe he has. But wouldn't be something that you'd think going into this season, but ref just got leveled on the faceoff. Turnover, City continues. Yeah, Boldy, though, at least has Boldy has at least shown some signs of life, but Boldy is not immune to the criticism either. Those two guys need to just do so much more than they are doing. But Boldy at least has shown some signs of getting out of. And again, this is a small detail that I think makes a world of difference. Is just skating hard, like looking like you give a damn. It makes a huge difference for us watching. Why did Bally's just sign me out? You've got to be kidding me. Stand by. The app just like legit logged me out while the game's going on. This makes for great viewing. Oh, good. A loss. At least I didn't see it. So you get 2 points. You get 2 points from 2 losses. I'm not a huge fan of that. Because again, it's losses. And now you are 5-8-4 on the season. You're 5-12. You're 5-12 on the season. Boy, oh boy. 0 points for Kaprizov. 2 points out of 4. Where was the D? William Nylander said, I am just going to end this game. I don't care. Let me get back into the post game. Bally's. There we go. Yeah, Dallas had a ton of overtime losses last season. A ton of them. I think they had 14 overtime losses, but they are they at least had a ton of they have a ton of speed and skill, which we do not. Postcast for today. When was the Wild's last game last year? It was in April. April 29th, I think. I'm just going to throw that out as a number. It was whenever game 6 was last season. They ended up losing. Postcast, I'm not sure when. I feel like it was later than April 11th. Let me just check. I feel like it was later than that because I know I was doing content until like late April. Oh, when was Kaprizov's last game? March 8th he played, then again April 8th, then April 11th. Yeah, Kaprizov had the 20-ish games that he missed. Bill Guerin needs to answer some questions. Yeah, yes he does. Because this is continuing to happen. Every guy on the team looks like a deer in headlights when they have an opportunity to make a play. And this speaks to a fear of making a mistake that is just running rampant on this team. There are so many different there are so many players that are just afraid to make mistakes, which leads to you not playing your best, because then you don't take nearly as many risks. You play safe, you play soft, and you lose, which is exactly what this team did. We'll have a postcast coming up here for you in a little bit, but hey, thanks everybody for tuning in to these live streams, both yesterday and today. I hope everybody had fun. I know I sure did. Would have been nice to pick up at least a win in the course of the last two games, but hey, I think the big thing to take away from this is that we will be doing more of these as the season unfolds, because this was a ton. Yes, Kyle, we'll do some more of these as the season unfolds. When the team's on the road, because when the team's at home, I typically am at the XL Energy Center. And so it's a little tougher for me to do a live stream at the X, but let's plan to do more of these for road games, for sure, with the Wilds, as this season continues. And for Kyle who's hopping in, I don't have a specific role with the team per se, but host of Locked On Wilds gets me an opportunity to cover this team, and to get a chance to see this play out. The show is credentialed, and it was a matter of just kind of building this up, building this group up, building this following up, and making this show more popular. Yeah. All the different things, opportunities to go to the room, to interviews after games, press box. It's all because this show continues to hit particular milestones. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. The team has been kind of a mess. Obviously, tons of help from the listeners who have made this show as popular as it is. There are a lot of people to thank. Like if I was accepting an Academy Award, an Oscar, there'd be a lot of people to thank. All the everyday listeners, everybody that is tuned into this. Kyle, let's finish this chat in the DMs. My DMs are open. I see you've got some good questions about just how the show works in general. Just hit me up in the DMs, and I'm happy to answer those questions for sure, because it is interesting, the process of how this all comes about. So yeah, feel free. DMs are open. I'm happy to answer any questions about the process of turning Locked On Wilds into, don't use X. Are you on any of the other social media apps? Instagram? Any on those? Hit me up on Insta. It's my handle is just see, and I don't even know what it is. At Seth Topes. Just hit me up on Insta. I'll get you those questions answered. All right, let's postcast. Let's postcast it out. Yeah. Well said, Devin. This is the state of hockey. In the state of hockey, you've mastered old, slow, and boring. Well done. Thank you to everybody for tuning in. A blast both days this weekend. We'll get you more of these as the season unfolds, but I'm gonna get ready for the postcast. Yeah, that'll be a different link on YouTube. So just be on the lookout for that. Going to get that ready to rock, and we'll talk about yet another listless loss for the Minnesota Wild. So peace out, everybody. Thanks for tuning in, and we will catch you next time here on Locked On Wild. Make sure you subscribe if you haven't already so you don't miss out on any future live streams, all part of the Locked On Podcast Network.